What's up, it's your man Rance, once again here at RandomAccessDFW.com, and this time I'm speaking to an expert about a subject that hits close to home for any and everybody who has any kind of credit history or any kind of imprint on the internet or any kind of buying power, whatever. So we've got James Munton. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm good. Now, you're the author of the book, The Con, How Scams Work, Why You're Vulnerable, and How to Protect Yourself.
Right.
Now, give me a little bit of background on that, and then we'll get into the real meat of the subject.
Well, Vance, I've always been interested in cons and scams. As you can tell, I wasn't born in these parts. I grew up in London, England, and when I was about 11 or 12 years old, I went on a little school field trip to the British Museum. And while all my classmates were inside the museum getting a proper education, I'd snuck outside. Because on the way in, what I'd noticed was a group of gents on a street corner surrounding one man with 3 playing cards. You know, the old 3-card Monty?
Yeah.
And my little 11-year-old eyes had never seen anything like this. I was fascinated. And I saw this American tourist get stunned for about $200 in 5 minutes. And I thought to myself, I want to learn how to do this. So right there, that's when my interest began. Fortunately, my parents found out what I was doing with my free time, because I'd go down there and watch these guys and they'd show me a trick or two. And she was very clever. She enlisted the services of a local magician who taught me how to use my interests in deception, but funnel it into a more honest direction.
Gotcha.
So I became a professional magician, and I still am today. I do shows for corporations and private events all around the country, but I've always kept to maintain this interest in cons and scams. And then several years ago, in a short period of time, a couple of family members, including my wife, were victims of identity theft, separate incidences, and it was shocking how easy they were able to steal identities, and then the complete chaos that they caused. Not only, recovering, the information that they'd taken and trying to get the money put back into bank accounts,
right,
but then making sure that all this stuff stayed off the credit reports. And so it's a big problem. And I realized that there wasn't a lot of current information out there. And as you said, this is always going on in the news, and they're always updating their methods of how they scam us. So I wrote a book, and the response I've got from it has been fantastic. People have been reading this book and saying, "Oh, I got my free credit report and I checked, and there was something on there, and I got it cleared up." So yeah, that's how the book came about.
Now, why is it so hard to rectify a situation when you have had your identity stolen? I had that situation with somebody close to me, and it's not like you just make one phone call. You got to make calls and calls and calls, and then it still takes months to get it finally cleared off on your credit report.
It does. I have to say the banks are slowly starting to get a little bit better and a little bit more responsive, but the fact of the matter is, it's shown on your credit report that someone's opened a credit card or a store card, they bought all this stuff. Well, it could have been you. Yeah. And so, you're calling to say, well, it wasn't me. They've got to find out, where the truth lays. And they can do that. They can find out, for example, that you were using your card in the Dallas area when these charges were being made in Chicago. There's no way you could have been responsible. But they just have to. But that's why it is a hassle getting cleared up. And so that's why prevention is really the best way to go through it. Just be careful that this situation doesn't happen in the first place. Unfortunately, it is very widespread. Statistics tell us that about 50 million instances of fraud each year, about 12 million, and the numbers have just come out this week, actually, for the last year. It's shot up to 12 million cases of identity theft. So that's an awful lot of people having to clear their credit records.
See, lucky for me, I've got bad credit, so it's not a problem.
So you don't have to worry about it.
Well, you talk about prevention. What can people do to basically keep from getting scammed without their knowledge?
Well, first of all, I always say education is the best way. Educate yourself. Of course, you don't have to just buy my book. You can visit our website at scamfree.com. We've got a whole bunch of resources on there. One of the statistics I found as I was researching the book is you are 40 times, that's 40 times more likely to suffer financial fraud than to have your car stolen or your house burgled. And just think about the precautions we take when it comes to our homes. We lock the front door.
Right.
Oftentimes we have a chain. Some of us have a burglar alarm. We have an alarm in our cars. Well, we just need to start taking the same attitude when it comes to our identities. So the first thing is educate yourself. Find out how these guys are doing these crimes. Second point is less is more. As in, less information you give out about yourself, the more secure you're going to be. For example, when you go to a store and they want you to sign up for your loyalty card and they give you this one, sometimes they ask for your social security number. They don't need your social security number. Do you know what? I go to a doctor and they have the form when you first go to a doctor. They ask for your social security number. I always leave that blank once. And can I tell you how many times I've got a phone call saying, oh, you left it blank? Not once. They don't need this information, so don't provide it. Your social security number really is only between you and the IRS. Nobody else should know about this. So don't give out information about yourself. The other thing is, we're all on Facebook now.
Yeah.
We post everything about ourselves. We don't always know who's looking at that information.
Right.
It's amazing when I see my friends and they say, oh, I'm off out of town next week. I'm going on a fun little trip. Can't wait to go. Well, you might as well tell them where you keep the key to your house.
Right.
I leave it under the mat by the front door in case you want to have a little look around when I'm gone.
Right.
So less information you give out, the more secure you're going to be. The third thing I always tell people is always doubt and check it out. So the phone rings, someone's phoning to say you've won a prize, and the first thing should be alarm bells going off in your head. Before you do anything, verify that the person you're speaking to really is who they say it is.
Right.
The phone rings and it's your bank. And they say your account's been compromised, they need to get this cleared up. Well, before you give them any information, take their name and number, and then get your card out of your wallet and call the number on the back of that card, because that's the real phone number.
Right.
And they'll be able to patch you through and tell you if this is a real call or if it's someone trying to scam you. So the three things, the book has lots of examples of ways people were scammed, has each chapter ends with a whole bunch of things you can do to protect yourself. But if you remember those main three, educate yourself, less is more, and always doubt, check it out, you are going to protect yourself from 90% of the crimes happening.
Now, what about, everybody gets the email, and I actually was listening to the radio, and somebody actually got hit, but it's, there's one, the Nigerian prince.
Yeah.
But the big one that is getting people now, especially like, I wouldn't say older people, but people that aren't quite so dialed in, is you get an email from a friend or a relative,
Yeah.
I'm stuck in this country, all my information's gone, I need you to wire me money. What can people do? Is that another example? If you doubt, check it out?
Exactly. Well, first of all, let's take one step back. How did that person get your email address and know that know the name of your friend? The most common cause of this is through Facebook. Mm-hmm. And what's happening is people are hacking into people's Facebook accounts. How are they doing that? A number of ways. One of the most common ones, anytime a famous person dies, we've just had Whitney Houston pass away. Before Whitney Houston, Michael Jackson, same thing happened. The moment a celebrity dies, there's Facebook messages going around saying, exclusive video of Whitney, minutes before her death. Click here to have a look. People click on it, and that's it. They've then given people access to their accounts, and once they've got access to their accounts, they've got access to your email list. So then what do? That's when they send out the email to all the people on your contact list, pretending to be that person whose account they've just hacked, saying, oh, I'm stuck in Spain right now on vacation. I've lost my wallet. Don't know what to do. Can you help? That's when you get those emails. And also think about this. One of the things that scammers do is they're masters of psychology. They prey on our weaknesses. So they'll prey on our greed. For example, they'll offer you a prize. You've won a fantastic prize. Or they prey on your compassion, our willingness to help out our friends. So you get these crisis calls. Or they prey on our fear. For example, you'll get a phone call saying, you missed jury duty. There's a warrant out for your arrest. We can get this taken care of right now if you pay the fine. And you get out your credit card. So, again, yes, always doubt, check it out. In the case of these emails you get, don't respond to the email, because obviously they've got access to that account.
Right.
Pick up the phone and phone your friend and find out what's going on. Because 99% of the time, they're not in Spain. They're still just down the road. And this whole thing is a big scam.
What about the big thing now is all these hackers that are like stealing like companies' lists with
data breach.
Is there a way to protect yourself in that manner?
Yeah, well, yes and no, unfortunately. If hackers access your information through a third party, i.e. they've hacked into, for example, your college, and they've managed to get all your information from there, there isn't that much you can do about it. But remember, before I said less is more. The less places have your social security number on their files, the better. So that if they do get access to one of these databases, they haven't got that much information about you to be able to scam you.
Now, you mentioned earlier about like if you go to your doctor, they ask for your social security and all that, and it's not necessary. What other places where you might be, like the store thing? I don't even give my name. I just take my reward card or whatever. Exactly. You know, whenever they go to thank you, Mr., I'm like, yeah, that's cool. I'm good. You know. Right. So are there other ways to protect yourself? I mean, like what other places where they might ask for your social security number that it's totally irrelevant?
Well, really, the easy answer to that is there's only one person who needs to know your social security number, and that's the IRS, generally. I mean, there are a couple of other government agencies that might possibly ask you for it, but I think even if you get arrested by the police, I don't think they ask for your social security number. They ask for name and date of birth.
True.
So basically, I would just say don't give it to anyone if they ask for it, unless it is the IRS or it's an obvious official place. But certainly stores and dentists, they're not getting my social security number. No way. The other thing I would watch out for is, you have people setting up these stands where they offer you a T-shirt in exchange for signing up for a credit card. Often you'll see these at sporting events. They'll put them up everywhere.
Right.
Now, most of the times, the actual stand is legitimate, but you don't know who the guy working on that stand is. And here you are giving all this information. The other big problem now is in restaurants. A lot of people, there's a lot of problems with skimming going on. Now, skimmers are when you give your credit card to the wait staff, they take it back and they do one swipe for the restaurant, and then they have their personal skimmer, they do one swipe for them. At the end of the evening, they go back home, they attach it up to their computer and upload all these credit card numbers, and they're basically getting between $8 and $20 a credit card number that they pass on. These credit card numbers are going to Russia and the Eastern Europe mainly. And so actually they're looking at changing the system. I was just actually back in England for a little visit. Mm-hmm. And in England, totally different system, much more secure. You don't give your card to someone. The waiter comes to your table with a card reader and swipes it right in front of you. So your card never leaves your sight. And my recommendation with regards to that is if you do want to pay for a meal, or especially in a bar, I mean, a lot of the skimming's happening in bars, make sure you take your card up to the desk and have them swipe the card right in front of you.
Gotcha. And then is there a number that people should look for? Like, say, like I know before federal agencies get involved with stuff. It's like anything under $10,000, over $10,000. So it's like $9,999, and then that stays under the flag. Is there a number for people, like just regular people, that okay, if I ever see anything that's, I mean, you should always be on point checking out your card, but if you see a number like, why is that number there?
Well, you should. I guess there's a fourth way you can protect yourself, which I should have added earlier, and that is to be monitoring your own records. It's amazing how infrequently, and I'm guilty of this myself, I don't always check my bank statements when they come through every month, but you really should be on top of this. Make sure you're checking it to make sure there aren't any unauthorized funds. And you mentioned the numbers, and again, the banks are getting better at this. You may have had this, I've had this a couple of times now, where I'll get a call from my bank, and this is a legitimate one, and they'll say, there's been some unusual activity on your card. And what the scammers are doing now is they'll get your, skim your card, they'll get your card detail, they'll reproduce the card, and what they'll go at, and typically they go and charge a small amount, typically at a gas station. They'll just run $6 or $7, an odd amount, because they're checking to make sure the card is working. Mm-hmm. And obviously, if you're doing it at the pump like that, there's nobody taking the card and less chance of you getting into trouble. Right. And then once they see the card is good, that's when they hit Best Buy and they start buying electronics on your card and running up a big bill. So it is important that you're checking your statements each month when they come in. And I wouldn't it's not going overboard, actually, and it's easier in some ways. Go online and check your account each day just to make sure the charges on there are legitimate and they're the ones you've actually charged. The other thing is you should really be checking your credit report at least once a year. There are 3 main credit agencies, and you're allowed by law to have one free credit check each year. So that means because there's 3 of them, you can check 3 times a year. If you don't do it 3 times a year, at least check it once a year, because again, identity thieves can be very clever. The good ones, they'll put stuff on your credit report that you don't know about unless you check. And so they've got store cards. People have even rented houses, had utility bills, and a whole life built around your credit. And another very troubling thing about this, you joked earlier about, well, if you don't have good credit, it doesn't matter. Well, check this out. People are actually getting arrested. And why are they getting arrested? Because crimes have been committed and fraud has been committed, but it's all been done on your record. And so the warrant goes out on your name. You get pulled over for maybe going 5-6 miles over the speed limit. The cop goes back to the car and pulls up your record, and suddenly he's dealing with a wanted man here. And you end up spending a couple of nights in jail while they figure out what's going on. Yeah, you don't want that to happen.
No. I won't even go into that history either. Well, part of the reason we made contact is because coming up soon is National Consumer Protection Week.
Yes.
Now, the book is definitely going to be helpful about that. What can people do to really help spread that message for that week and beyond?
Right. Well, yeah, National Consumer Protection Week is March 4th through 10th. And basically, it's just a way of drawing attention to this. Identity theft seems to be one of those crimes that doesn't get a lot of attention. It's not a violent crime. People are kind of indirectly getting hurt, but it's not like people are getting murdered over it. It's not a sexy kind of issue that the press wants to pull attention to. So unfortunately, that means, like I said, 12 million people are victims of identity theft each year. It's happening, and people aren't necessarily hearing about it. So one of the main reasons for this week is to draw attention to it. And various government agencies are involved in this. We've got the FTC, which is the Federal Trade Commission. The IRS is involved in it. Social Security Administration. They're all doing their own events around the country in conjunction with this. Also, Better Business Bureau, the AARP as well are involved as well. So hopefully you'll see events around the area, encouraging people to do certain things, educating them. And actually, if you go to our website at scamfoo.com, there's a list of activities that are happening and things that people can do, quick fixes, if you like, that don't take too much time, not terribly difficult, but really protect you, like I said, from 90% of these things that are happening.
Well, people, you've heard it on plenty of other places, but now you're hearing it right here at RandomAccessDFW.com. So you want to check out James Munton's book. It's called The Con, How Scams Work, Why You're Vulnerable, and How to Protect Yourself. And if you aren't much of a reader and you just want some quick notes, check out his website, and it's called
Scamfoo.com.
SCAMFU.com.
You got it.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us, and I know we're going to talk again soon. I saw some other ideas that are going to be popping across, especially when it comes to the world of technology.
Yeah.
But thanks for spending some quality time with us today, James, and we look forward to our next conversation.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Thanks very much.